It's time now for our Wall Street Week Daily segment, and we bring in David Westin, as always, to join us. David, who do you have this week?
Scar, thank you so much. Well, we're all focused, as I know you are, on what's going on in the Middle East, that humanitarian tragedy, even horror that's unfolding over there. But it also has economic consequences, particularly for a nation that's been called the startup nation because of all this reliance on high tech. So we turn to somebody who knows that startup business in Israel particularly well, Avi Hasson. He is Startup Nation Central CEO, and we asked him about the effects he's seeing of this war so far.
We're all still under the influence of the horrific events and the staggering magnitude of loss of lives, of wounded, kidnapped, and so on. And it's very hard, as you say, to think about the day after or to look into a higher level of the Maslow pyramid, if you'd like. But those needs to be taken into account. I'll be focusing mostly in the high-tech sector for two main reasons. One of them, just for the audience, in case not everybody is knowledgeable. The business plan of Israel is high-tech. To put it in a short sentence, about 18% of our GDP is driven by the high-tech industry, about half of our export. Basically, we are a knowledge economy, and the health of the high-tech sector many times reflects the health of the Israeli economy. As such, the high-tech is now coping like any other sector in Israel with a few challenges, all related to the conflict. First and foremost, there is a certain percentage of the workforce which has been enlisted into reserve duty. We estimate that number to be about 15% of the workforce in high tech. You have to remember, if you're a startup company, and that number can go up to 25% or more, that many times has a significant impact on your ability to continue in a normal way. Not to mention the many people whose spouses have been enlisted or are unfortunately, suffered personally and have friends, relatives that have been casualties of really this horrific event. I must say that the management teams of the companies that we've been talking have been extremely efficient in shifting internal resources to try to make sure that business continuity, customer support, manufacturing when relevant, all continue. And unfortunately, at Israel, we have a lot of experience in dealing in situations, well, not similar to this. This is a different event. But the ability to keep running while there's a crisis of any kind, COVID, geopolitical or economic, is something that Israeli high-tech is well experienced in dealing with.
And as I understand it, Avi, it's not a coincidence that there's some intersection between the high-tech business in Israel and the military. Having read Dan Seiner's book about a startup nation, I understand that a lot of the expertise actually comes out of military service. So a lot of the people who are called up are essential to the high-tech business.
Yeah, that is correct. I mean, obviously, when it comes to some of the technology units, but honestly, the situation we're right now is where we have hundreds of thousands of enlisted people. So it really touches each and every sector of the economy as such. We do see, by the way, the high-tech sector trying to help the national efforts in trying to sometimes utilize existing technologies for the needs of the civil society, to help the wounded, to help find information about the abductees, to really help in everything that is needed. And there are many initiatives of the high-tech leaders to try to come together and put the force of Israeli knowledge economy into the current challenges as we see them right now. But maybe one other point that I wanted to emphasize that is unique to high-tech is that more than any other sector in the Israeli economy, we're tightly connected to the global value chain. So the high-tech operates in a scene which is based on global competition. It serves global customers. It's funded almost entirely by the global financial community. And as such, the situation that we are does have an impact on the well-being on high tech. And we have to remember that this has happened in a year which has not been an easy one for any technology company worldwide because of the economic downturn, because of the high interest, because of everything we've seen in global economy. So that combination does pose a challenge on the Israeli high-tech specifically.
Talk about the region. We have talked to venture capitalists inside Israel about the hope and optimism from the Abraham Accords. And I know that I think one of the companies you work with actually has a partnership with a UAE company in the water area, irrigation. There was a lot of anticipation about maybe Saudi Arabia if Riyadh opened up. What is happening across border right now with places like UAE?
So at Startup Nation Central, we a big part of our work in the past 3 years since the signing of the accord was exactly that, was to utilize those knowledge, assets, technologies to forge collaborations with partners from the UAE, Bahrain, Morocco, but also Egypt, Jordan, and also with countries with whom Israel does not yet have diplomatic relations. It's obvious that this war poses also a challenge to this relationship. I would even say that I think part of the motivation of Hamas to start this conflict, obviously also a bigger power in the region, was to try to stop or hurt that growing normalization efforts, specifically with the Saudis. So obviously, these are troubling times in that respect. It's much harder now to conduct that sort of business. All of these governments in the region have internal public opinion to be taken care of. But I can tell you from personal discussions that I've been having with them, they're all very much aware of the different challenges, but also risks that those forces pose to the region. They're all trying to diversify their own economies. They're all trying to move away from oil-based economies to knowledge-based economies. They all have an interest in that collaboration in Israel, in a strong Israeli from the military front, but also in utilizing and combining forces for mutual prosperity. It's all about that. I think, we've had the forces trying to pursue collaborative prosperity, and innovation has that nature. When you work with someone, really it's a win-win situation. And then, unfortunately, we had forces which had, would truly prevail this week. But I'm sure it will just be a short-term win, which will end up with their significant loss, which are trying to push that away. So I think it'll take time to go back to where we were. I think the forces are too strong to stop progress and to stop innovation from achieving its collaborative prosperity.